If you want the present to be different from the past, study the past. Oof. This quote's by Baruch Spinoza. Did I say that right? And Baruch Spinoza. I'll read it one more time. If you want the present to be different from the past, study the past. This guy's touching on a very common topic, or I think it's common, because a lot of the people that I have to deal with, a lot of the clients that I help out, a lot of them are always, they're not in trouble, but they're struggling with patterns that seem to keep repeating, patterns that they eventually acknowledge have been replaying in the past, in the present, and unfortunately, they bring those patterns into the future. So what Spinoza's quote is telling you, study the past, begin to recognize what is this reoccurring pattern that always seems to happen, that either you always repeat, or to look more openly, you always allow to repeat. Now, things get a little bit trickier because it's not like, we want bad things to always happen. It's like, oh man, I always get hit by a car and like break a bone or something. Like, damn, that sucks. Sadly, some people, they don't realize that they're repeating a pattern for that stuff to occur. Like, they suffer from substance abuse or alcoholism, and then they always end up in some sort of bad physical accident. And it's kind of clear. You just have, like, all their friends tell them, all their friends and family tell them, like, yo, bro, you need to, like, control, like, your substances. And sometimes when people don't want to acknowledge the truth or look deep within them, they're like, nah, I'm alright. Nah, trust me, it's not the blah, blah, blah. Don't blame the alcohol. Don't blame it on the blame it on the goose. Got you feeling loose. Oh, man, they're loose, man. And they don't want to blame it on certain things or certain patterns. They're like, nah, it's just because, like, the road laws aren't good nowadays, and yeah, those people shouldn't have been speeding. That's why they hit into me. Like, yo, if it's happened more than like once or twice, like, you need to reevaluate your actions, because that shit's bound to happen again. I'll be honest, I have a few patterns very similar to that, because one thing I know is that when I engage in alcohol, especially with lack of discipline, and oh man, discipline and alcohol, very, very tricky matter. If anything, it's not a matter that most of you should even try to meddle with. It requires a higher level of fortitude and consciousness, and of course discipline. But that's what it is. It's the exercise of discipline. So ultimately, you're achieving a high level of discipline with it. But there's more that is required to control that little matter. Anyway, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, alcoholism or substance abuse or anything. We're talking about changing the present so that it differs from the past. A lot of people, they don't take the time to look at their own life, look at themselves, look at where they're heading, and in a sense, look at the behavior, or like I said before, the patterns that they engage with. Sadly, they just allow it to repeat. And they don't realize a lot of it is their doing. And if it's not their doing, it's their allowance of it. That might trigger some people, because they'll be like, oh, it's not my fault this always happens, It's like, I try my hardest for this not to happen, but it always turns out that way. In a sense, you still allow it. There's two factors that allow it. There's only two factors anyway. It's you inside and how you operate and how you choose to operate and what you allow to operate. And it's what you allow to stay or be your environment. Because you have the willpower to change your environment. I know it's hard and I know it's uncomfortable and it seems like, oh, I can't just like change this or I can't just change my environment like that. Of course, things don't change like that, but you can slowly take the baby steps out to eventually change your environment. And then when you change that environment and you slowly creep out, you'll find better ways to take even bigger steps and better paths out of your environment to something hopefully better, but something different. Because when outcomes start to be different, that's different opportunities that you can start to latch onto, grab hold of. But if you're always in the same place or you're always in the same environment, the opportunities and options you get handed every day, they kind of stay the same. They will remain the same sort of options all the time, as long as you are there. So in a sense, a lot of it is about how you choose to place yourself or where you choose to place yourself. Because if you're just comfortable the way everything is, the way everything outside of you is, and sadly, someone I'm dealing with is, well, a lot of people I deal with, they're comfortable the way they are, which is fair enough. Everyone should be comfortable the way they are. Your opportunities will remain the same. If you want to be that person when the going gets tough, I'd rather just turn away and walk away. If you're always going to be like that, it's always going to be a missed opportunity. Because in the heat of the moment, that's where the opportunities usually are. And the other opportunities for safety and comfort and things not to change, they're over there where some of you always like to go. I'm not telling anyone that they have to change. No one has to. It's up to you. A lot of people I know, they love living in comfort. I love comfort. It's the goal. In a sense, comfort is the goal. But comfort should be the goal when you're on a journey. If you're just sitting in comfort, it's not much of a journey, sadly. And then to me, I'm an adventurer. I love the journey. I love, feeling the slight discomfort. And not that, I purposely put myself in uncomfortable positions. But I just love experiencing new things. And whenever I experience something new, I just know I gotta learn what it is to adapt to this or to be okay with this. Because all these people in this environment are cool with it. Why can't I be cool with it? Because it makes me feel like I'm leveling up, I'm learning more skills, doing more things. I don't know, that's the adventure talk. Anyway, let's get back to what the quote's trying to say. Study your past. When we study history, as the human civilization, well, I live here in the Western civilization, so when we study Western civilization history, we learn a lot of things that can make civilization much better and people much better. We learn how beautiful and gracious and awesome leaders bring their peoples back up to a better position. And then we also learn that when they're at a good position, the power becomes even more enticing and more delicate, and then that power gets used irresponsibly. We learn that in history. That pattern, that story repeats itself many times over. And sadly, it's hard for man to learn that one, because not many of us fall into that position of power. So not many of us learn the traits that we need to balance ourselves and be more responsible with more power. It's hard. It's something that takes time. And sadly, it's, in terms of power, it's something only available for the select few. I'm sorry I said it, but that's what I believe. But other than that, all of us have the opportunity to learn from our past. When we do introspection and we look at ourselves, hopefully we find things that we usually do, and we see these usual acts bringing the usual result. When we can identify that, then we can identify the slight changes that we can make. For example, if I always, I don't know, what's a good example? Let me think. Let's say, I want to be more fit and I want to at least walk half an hour a day. If I always leave it to the end of the day after, my usually daily duties, and then sometimes I'm too tired to go for a walk, or sometimes I'm too tired to, organize time to walk and all that. That pattern of behavior, it's already kind of clear, like, maybe I shouldn't do it when I'm already exhausted most of my energy. Maybe I should try to implement this half an hour walk at the start of the day, as soon as I wake up, get it done first. Because I'm already used to doing all my other daily duties. But maybe as soon as I wake up, or I can wake up just half an hour earlier and go for the half an hour walk, and boom, I already implemented this change. And this change is going to already, increase my health, my cardiovascular health, my metabolism. Just little patterns that we can study within ourselves, where we can make slight changes. Big changes, of course, we can do that, but we all know what happens when we do big drastic changes. We eventually fall back to default because it's too uncomfortable to adjust to. We're better as humans. We're better giving ourselves slight adjustments to eventually adapt to. The big ones, they're hard, and they need to be uncomfortably ingrained if we want to make that transformation. Like, I don't know, all of a sudden not eating any more carbohydrates because carbohydrates are evil. Shit like that. That's a hard change to make. And if you have a pattern of doing some crazy ass diets but never going through and fulfilling them, maybe you need to look at that pattern and see, like, well, maybe I was going too hard with the adjustments I wanted to make in my life. Maybe I should just make the slightest adjustments that I can keep for life, and slowly make slight adjustments. If you want to quit cigarettes, there are the select few that can, go cold turkey and stop forever. The rest of us, I know the most effective people are the ones that slowly bring down their intake until that small amount of intake doesn't even feel uncomfortable anymore. That small amount of intake can feel negligible. And then all of a sudden, boom, you've made that change. But that's one part of studying your past. That's one of my tips, studying your patterns in the past. Studying your patterns in the present. studying if you're going to make those patterns that make the same results in the future. But another thing that's crucial about studying your past is not only the patterns, but just find out what works for you, what doesn't. Find out your style. Because if I'm always trying to, and this is not the best example, but if I'm always trying to make money doing physically laborious jobs and my body never is able to tolerate and last, maybe I shouldn't be continually looking for physically laborious jobs. Maybe I should be trying to make an income that doesn't involve so much physical labor. Even though I learned as a baby boomer, like, when you work, it's got to be physically laborious, and it's got to be 9 to 5 because that's the way it's always been in the past. If you still hold on to those old mindsets in the past, you miss out on opportunities that are here in the present. Because a lot of us are now aware that an income isn't always now the regular 9 to 5, working hard and, busting your ass out as much as you can. Back then, it was the thing because it was the only thing available. But now, times have changed. There are different opportunities now. I'm doing something which is strange to me, just talking and explaining my thoughts and theories. And apparently, this is a way to get on with life. Because everything I was doing in the past wasn't working. So I'm giving this a try. I like change. And I like seeing what I used to do and maybe what doesn't work. Of course, you can look back in the past and see like what you didn't put 100% into. Boom, that's already a change. Like now it's time to, instead of only giving it 60%, I'll give it 90%, maybe even 100%. That's another thing you can look at in the past. In the past, you can look at what kind of people was I always around. Is that the same kind of people that I should be around? Because people make your environment. And sometimes you need to realize, so long as I'm around these people 60% of my week, things are going to stay the same for me because I'm going to be adapted, or I'm going to be acclimated to having these type of people around 60% of my week. What if I put a different type of peoples in my life for 60% of my week? People that are concerned about growing themselves mentally and spiritually and financially. If they become part of my 60% of the week and I become more acclimated to that, I will become a person concerned with growing myself mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. That's your environment. Everyone knows all that, like the people you hang out with, you become. It's your environment. If I'm surrounding myself with books, media, and I'm not talking about social media. I'm just talking about TV or posters, colors, music that has a certain vibration to it, I adapt to it. I used to listen to some angry ass music all the time. Not anymore. I only have that angry, passionate music for particular times now. Like, for example, when I have to go exercise at gym, that's when I listen to that stuff. But I don't want to listen to that stuff on my everyday because I'm just going to be angry and passionate at the wrong time. I'm just trying to go to sleep and all of a sudden, rah, rah, like, I don't want to go to sleep like that, baby. Our media and our environment makes a huge difference. And we can identify a lot about ourselves in the past. When you become better at identifying things and evaluating things in your life, you can start looking more at the present and what the present will lead to. But it usually helps. It's an easy place to start when you start looking at the past and how it's correlates and is similar to the present. And then when you get better, the present and how it becomes similar to what the future is. But be present, guys. When you become more present, you will learn how to love life a lot more. And you will learn why in the past you didn't love life that much. That's another tip. Be present. There are so many reasons to smile every single day. There's so many reasons to smile. Look at what's in front of you and love what's in front of you. Don't worry about what you could have had, what you used to have. Oh, I used to this, man, that story's over. What's in front of you now? Just embrace it. And deal with it and improve it, better it. Make it more fun. Whatever's in front of you, make it more fun. When you look in the mirror and you look at yourself, make yourself more fun. You know how to make yourself more fun. You should know your own style, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you're interested in, what you're not interested, what kind of music you like, what kind of music you think would be better for you. Give yourselves more reason to smile. Because your past will show you how it didn't work. And with the present, you can try what works. Spinoza knows. He probably did a lot of self-reflection. He probably looked at his past and like, I ain't gonna let that shit happen again. Because I remember what happened the last time I did that. And he made those changes. We can all make those changes. I'm gonna make a change by ending it now. Signing out.